Hello and welcome to Zerocarbonista Series 7. Don't panic, I'm Ian Collins. This is your number one go-to environment-based podcast. If it's green, it is in. I'll tell you what now, this is the last show of the year. It's obviously, got a festive vibe to it. I can tell by the amount of tinsel and baubles and, oh no, there is nothing.
Oh, we forgot.
You don't like Christmas, do you? I mean, we've established.
No, listen. I guess people started saying that to me quite a lot now. It must be becoming well known, and I feel I have to say, kind of for a bit of balance. No, it's not like I hate Christmas. I mean, other than I do hate Christmas, but what I hate about it,
it's not like I hate it, but I do.
I hate the imposition. Right? I mean, people can have their Christmas. I don't care. I mean, I care if they're eating turkey and all of the other bad things happen at Christmas, but I don't care that much. I don't say don't have a Christmas. Yeah. It's just like, when it's imposed on you, like everybody talks about Christmas, I mean, I'm free of Christmas now because I am. But back in the day, it'd be like, well, that card, they're agonizing over who wrote a card to you. You must write a card to them. Who's going to buy a present for you? You must buy a present for them. What you do on Christmas Eve, what you do on Christmas Day. Then there's Boxing Day, and it's like a mass psychosis, isn't it? We all dance. We follow this pattern of life for like 3 or 4 days. Except, of course, there's 4 or 6 weeks in the run-up to Christmas where everybody talks about Christmas. Yeah. And there'll be 2 or 3 weeks after Christmas when everybody talks about Christmas, and I hate it. I'm like, oh, shut up about Christmas. Yeah. Did you have a good Christmas? F*** off. What are you doing for Christmas? Hiding. That's me.
That is Christmas in 60 seconds. We could just release that as a separate podcast, I think.
Yo, ho, right? But like I said, I don't hate Christmas, only when it's imposed on me, which it isn't anymore.
And you're right, there's this kind of template that everybody has to kind of adhere to. Yeah. And it's not just for the Christmas day, like you rightly say, Boxing Day springs up like a bastard. Suddenly, like, you've got everything sorted. Okay, I'll go with the Christmas thing. Boxing Day, shit! There's another day that I've got to do. And then, of course, you move into the days that follow.
And you're knackered by New Year, which is the party you'd much rather celebrate, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Just me. Although I have to say, I was partying this weekend because it was the solstice on Sunday.
Yeah. So what's the deal with the solstice? It's just like the shortest day or something?
Yeah, shortest day, longest night, and it's the turning point in the year as we head back towards summer. It's a pagan ritual, or it's in the pagan calendar to mark the solstice. I don't know how these guys did this. They didn't have clocks, did they? But they knew when the longest day came.
Yeah, how did they know that shit?
Yeah. They marked the longest night. They marked the shortest night. They marked the midsummer, the equinox between day and night that we have twice a year. They mark that as well.
It must have taken them decades to, like, each year they would have get Alf to walk around a rock, and roughly how many beats of the drum does it take? And then they realize, wow, it actually was longer on that one, so the day is longer, or some kind of mechanics.
Really amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway, really I celebrated that. That's much more important.
Yeah, but that means the nights technically start to get lighter.
They do. No, not technically, actually.
Well, that's terrible, right?
Nights are getting shorter. Why is it terrible?
But that's good in the summer, but like it's still midwinter. You want dark nights, don't you? You want dark, like dark at 3 o'clock, dark still at 8 in the morning.
I don't think they get less dark. I think they get less long.
Yeah, that's what it is. I don't like. This is like Pythagorean Pythagoras' theorem on booster rockets territory for me.
All right, we better leave it
around it. What we can get ahead of, here's a headline: Dale storms the capitalist citadel that is the London Stock Exchange. What's been going on? Have you been on the protest, Vince?
You wrote that one. Yeah, it was last week, wasn't it? I thought we talked about it last week on the podcast, but it was like Wednesday, the day after the big right-wing hissy fit about what I said about Netanyahu. And if anybody missed that, he blamed Australia for the terror attack on Bondi Beach on Sunday, on the day of the attack. And I got on Twitter and said, actually, it's more likely to be your fault, Israel's fault, for the genocide. Oh, my word, the right-wing world went mad, and Labour went a bit mad too, which is a surprise. Anyway, that's a recap. But on Wednesday, I went to the stock exchange to do a podcast record with June Sarpong. We talked about it, didn't we?
We did talk about that. How did that go?
I don't know, but she's lovely. And we had a lovely time, probably spent an hour. It was a brilliant podcast, really enjoyed it. But when I got there, I walked through the door and there were these big screens that said, London Stock Exchange welcomes Dale Vince. It was everywhere we looked, big screens. And we put out a little post then with a picture. saying not
Did you buy
cancelled
some
here.
shares?
Not cancelled here. No. I flicked the V's at the whole thing while they took a picture of me. I'm like, the stock exchange. You do that, don't you? I mean, it's just like...
I think it's a rite of passage, Dale, isn't it?
It's got to be done. But they were lovely people, and I had a lovely time. But I thought we talked about it last week. Maybe...
No, you were on your way to do the podcast last week.
Of course, yeah, because
it came after we did our one.
The weeks are a blur.
Indeed.
But yeah, It was fun. It was really fun. And they've got in there these like incredibly posh studios, not like us, for doing podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in a cupboard. I mean, I'm in a... I don't know what I'm in. Starship. I'm in a starship. You're in a cupboard. They've got these studios, like a new studio with multi-cameras, a crew of people. There's some in the stock exchange.
Well, they're doing global shit there, aren't they? They're kind of head honchos who are doing broadcasts with CNN and ABC and God knows what else.
I didn't know.
Yeah,
I didn't know. I asked June, "What's she doing here? It's so improbable."
What was she doing there? By the way, there's the big Sarpong in the stock exchange. Never thought I'd hear that.
There it is.
Maybe she lives there.
Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
Crazy times.
I tell you what is possible, and it's worth just moving to this story because there's quite a lot in it. This is about animal welfare, and this week a whole raft of measures were announced by the government. Broadly, I think by most people as completely reasonable. What did you make of it? Because there's everything from lobsters to chickens on this.
Oh, I thought it was brilliant. Really, really brilliant. Quite unexpected, although I think some of it was in the manifesto, so we should have expected it. But I mean, I didn't see it coming. The media weren't speculating about it, and it just appeared. And it was a series of stories over a number of days. I think first we saw trail hunting was going to be banned, and I'd say that's a really welcome thing. I've been covering a bit of that on my social media. Hunt Local Deer, I think when he was Prince Charles, it was his hunt. Beaufort, I think. They were filmed chasing a fox, which is what they do. And so I think it's a welcome thing. It's a smokescreen for carrying on fox hunting. And then they announced they were going to ban the shooting of hares, except for certain times of the year. I don't know why. There's a certain time when it's okay to kill wild creatures, but that's at least better than it was. Then there was an announcement about farms. They were going to ban cages that cramp the conditions of chickens, that mean pigs have to stand up to give birth and can't lay down, like farrowing crates they're called. They're going to ban them, which is fantastic news. And then to cap it all was the news that we'll no longer allow the boiling of lobsters alive. And to that I say, what the f***? How long did that take? What an incredibly cruel thing that we've been allowing. So it's a real tightening up of animal rights laws. And it has to be, I think, we may look back in 10 or 20 years and say, this is the beginning of the end of factory farming of animals. I'd like to think so.
There was some critics said, well, hang on, what about halal and kosher meat, where there's no stunning process? Now, in many, I was thinking about this before we came on. I thought to put that question to a vegan is kind of almost irrelevant, because your point would be, well, we don't want any of them to die in any shape or form. So the idea that there's a kind of religious process and there's not a stunning of the animal, how relevant is that to kind of your argument?
No, I hear you. I want to talk about that, and then I want to talk about Farage as well, his reaction to this story. But you're right. And actually, there's another link back into the story in that there's talk of banning the stunning of pigs with carbon dioxide, maybe next or maybe in the same package. I'm not sure. But I read that, and that's like estate agent language, right? We don't stun pigs or chickens with carbon dioxide. It's a gas chamber. It's actually a gas chamber. In the case of chickens, we lower them in a crate into a chamber full of CO2, and it kills them. They suffocate. And while they're doing it, they're screaming their lungs out because they're burning. They can't get oxygen. Now, pigs aren't stunned by CO2. They're suffocated by CO2. Yeah. Now, that's not stunning. So that's one thing. What do I think about halal and all that kind of stuff? Look, these animals are going to die. The manner of death is important. I don't know if it's more cruel not to stun them, particularly with CO2, or with cows, it's a metal bolt into the head. I'm not sure that's pretty effective. I mean, I don't call that stunning, but some cows survive that. They've got hugely thick skulls. I've seen the videos. And they stagger around having been shot in the head with a metal bolt. It's a retractable metal bolt. It's a gun, if you can imagine, that something comes out of and goes back in again so they can use it again. So I've got no strong opinion on that because I don't know whether it's more cruel or not. I think with halal, I think they might cut the neck, the veins in the neck,
Yes.
and they bleed out quickly. I think it's not a lot of pain, probably. And then maybe people that eat halal meat would argue it's more benign. And if you see the factories that kill animals, I mean, it's terrible. They're terrified. They're beaten into the death chambers. You know, they don't want to go. They know what's going to happen. It's really quite awful. But on to Nigel Farage, talking of awful. Right, he pops up. He says, "Oh, next you'll be banning walking in the countryside with a dog because they chase foxes and deers and wild animals." And I'm like, oh my God. But anyway, I wrote on social media, Nigel, didn't you know that actually, if you take a dog for a walk in the countryside without a lead, it's going to chase farm animals, livestock, right? And actually the country code says don't take a dog into the countryside without a lead. It's not against the law, but it's the country code. But apart from that, to kill a fox, dogs, domestic dogs, they will not catch a fox. They won't catch a hare.
Not in a million years, or a rabbit for that matter.
Or a rabbit, nothing. They won't catch nothing. To kill a fox, I pointed out to him, takes 30 trained hounds and a gang of redcoats on horseback steering them. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
It's a very organized operation, and it's mob-handed. That's what it takes to kill a fox. And often, even then, they're digging them out of a hole in the ground and just throwing them to the dogs.
Yeah.
So he's a idiot for saying that, honestly. Oh, you might as well ban walking a dog without a lead. Really provocative, stupid, populist, and way, way, way away from the facts.
We're going to come back to this, I'm sure, in future episodes, Dale, because I think there's more to be said on this welfare bill, and I think the details will kind of trickle out as well over the coming weeks.
But also the farmers are up in up. Well, I say the farmers. I think they are actually. I think it's the farmers' union and people like that. They're like, oh, why have you declared war on the rural communities? Why are you making it harder for us to live? And I think you don't chase foxes for a living. It's for fun.
Yeah, it's not part of the business model, is it?
I mean, they're linking. Well, I mean, they say it supports hundreds of jobs, but blimey, it's a brutal industry. And then they say, "Oh, look, you've just picked on us already for the inheritance tax," and they're joining the two up. And I say, "Jesus, farmers, why shouldn't you pay inheritance tax? We all do. You talk about your family farm. Everybody, more or less, has a family home that they want to pass on without tax. But and even then, farmers have got great allowances and a lower rate of tax, and everybody has the chance to transfer their home or their farm 7 years before they die to their kids or whatever, and then avoid tax. So just transfer it earlier. If you want your family stuff to be inherited, just sign it away."
It's interesting that there's quite a lot of farmers actually against fox hunting now as well. I was listening to a few phone-ins on this, and caller after caller, so, farmers going, "Look, it's a bit of an urban myth that we're all like into this thing." We're not.
Yeah. No, I mean that's true, right? I see that as well. Most farmers are struggling to make a living. They ain't got time to go, putting their red jackets on and chasing foxes.
Yeah. Lovely jackets, though.
It's for a different class of people, I would say. I'm not a classist person, but they exist in our world. I mean, there's a reason why it's the Royal Beaufort Hunt, or it used to be, right?
Yeah. Here's a question, Dale. This comes from Daniel on Facebook. Like many others, Dale, I live on a road with on-street parking. I will never be able to charge my car at home with cheap off-peak rates that most EV drivers benefit from. I'll be stuck using very expensive public chargers competing for space. This is the reality for a significant proportion of the population. There has been no viable solution to put forward to solve this. My local council said it was central government's issue. Central government seemed to think they provided councils with funding to find a solution. In the end, all politicians wash their hands of the problem and ordinary Joe Soaps lose out. What is your solution, Dale? Says Daniel. He makes a fair point.
It's a fair point. And the stats say that 30% of people in our country don't have access to off-street parking. And most of those people are going to live in cities, right? You can see the obvious reason for that. But the stats say 70% of people do have access. And I think it's important to point that out. But it is a problem for the 30%. I think that the cost of public charging is going to come down, is coming down and will come down. The more and more posts get built, and maybe we'll see some government intervention in that, but these guys have got to recoup the high cost of very fast charging. That's what's been happening. But the time will come when that's recouped and prices can come down, and more posts are being put up everywhere you go. There are new things being put in the ground. And who's the battery company? Duracell just installed some really big fast chargers somewhere in Britain. I read in the news this week, And BYD, the Chinese company, they've unveiled the most incredible thing, a car that can charge in 5 minutes.
What? That's quicker than my
Incredible.
phone.
Yeah, I predicted this 15 years ago when we put our Nemesis on the road and we had 3 kilowatt chargers on the motorway. I said, look, the day will come, right? The day will come when you can charge an electric car as you fill up a petrol car in the same time frame, in the same way. You drive in, plug in, go into the shop, pay, and you're on your bike. That's coming as well. So we're talking faster charger, cheaper charging, cheaper cars are coming next year, an incredible range, including from BYD again, at amazing prices. And so the whole cost of electric motoring is going to be below petrol and diesel motoring anyway. But for a while, Daniel, it's a question of just hanging on until then public charges get cheaper, unfortunately.
Can I bring another animal story back in, Dale, just briefly here?
Yeah, sure.
We forgot the octopus.
Oh, we did.
The octopus. Well, this is different. It's a different story, but it's boom time for the octopus, although it's a kind of double jeopardy thing. Because these are the Devon and Cornwall octopus. Are they octopuses or octopi?
I reckon they're octopi, but everywhere I read it written at the moment, it says octopuses, and I think that's wrong. Yeah. I think that's wrong.
So there's loads more of them because of climate. But it also means loads more are being fished.
Yeah, you just took the whole story there right out of my mouth.
Sorry, Dale.
But that's all right. Okay. It's a lovely story. And the picture is in The Guardian, I think. The picture of this octopus is incredible. There's a video of an octopus walking on the seabed like it's got 2 legs. I don't know if you saw that. Honestly, it's incredible. Beautiful, graceful, incredibly intelligent creatures. And apparently the coast of Devon and Cornwall is inundated with them. Unfortunately, the only way we know this is that fishermen are catching like 20 times more than they used to. The estimate, I think it's 233,000 dead octopi are telling us that there's a lot more octopi on the sea floor, as well as divers are seeing them and people are swimming. They're in the clear waters. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, but a tragedy that we have to measure their population by how many we can kill.
Yeah. 233,000 octopuses were caught by local fishers. I mean, this is just in Cornwall this year, and that's 13 times the usual amount.
Yeah, I call it 20 times, but...
Did you say 20?
I did. That's right. You're right. I was exaggerating.
Well, I was rounding up. I mean, by the time this podcast finishes, it will be 20 times the rate these poor things are being caught. Quick word, Dale, on the temperatures. They are consistently the warmest and have been for, the last few years, right?
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 years on record have been the hottest 3 years on record right now. If that don't set alarm bells ringing, I'm not sure it will. Yeah. By the way, this influx of octopi from the Mediterranean, that's driven by the climate change crisis. These are migrants, animal migrants of the climate crisis. So it won't just affect humans, what's happening right now. These 3 years kind of give us another example in our faces of how the climate is changing. There's another one as well. I don't know if it's on our list, but it came up, but it's in my socials this week. And it's this: if you're dreaming of a white Christmas, dream on, because the chances of snow are diminishing rapidly. We may never have snow in the winter again, apparently, although then again, there's a forecast for snow in early Jan. But the amount of snow, the frequency of snow, the records show are rapidly diminishing. I've got to take my scarf off. Again, hot. And I quite like the fact that snow is kind of an inherent baked-in part of the Christmas psychosis, right? White Christmas. We're all dreaming of a white Christmas, all part and parcel. The tree, the baubles, the snow. We're losing it because of the climate crisis.
But there is good news connected to this because Ed Miliband is going to provide, or has provided, the greenest Christmas ever because of the amount of zero-carbon electricity that is generated. Quick word on that, Dale?
Yeah, quick word on that. Look, it's a brilliant story. I think National Grid put out a report that we'd added 2 gigawatts of solar, 3 gigawatts of wind, and 9 gigawatts of batteries, I think it was. A mad amount, or maybe it's 9 in total. It's 9 in total for batteries, but we added a shitload. And we've had days in December where the grid is 97% green energy, which is amazing. As an annual average, we're at about 50%, which is amazing. But I got to say, in the same way that you have to say that for everything that Labour are blamed for, you can't say this is down to Ed Miliband. Labour have been in power for 18 months. Now, there's been a bunch of stuff built in that time, but a lot of it was in the pipe before that time. They have consented a mad amount of stuff as well, which will come onto the grid in the near future. I don't think much has been built in this time because of the Labour government. But that's not to take it away. It's just to say, and the same is true when Labour are blamed for everything, the immigration crisis, all kinds of stuff, right? That pre-existed, and that takes time to deal with.
Here's a question from Josh, who says, listen, Dale, I bought FGR, Forest Green Rovers, to the top in Football Manager. That's the video game. Give me a shot, and I promise I'll fix it. If I fail promotion within 2 years, you can sack me. I've gotten to the Premier League in Football Manager too. What's stopping me for doing it for real? Take me to Nailsworth.
I love it. I meet so many people that tell me that Forest Green is their team in FIFA, Football Manager, whatever it is, these computer games. And I think it's lovely. And I just want to say the real world is different to the game world. Everybody knows that. I think it's a sweet, funny question. I don't think it's serious.
I think he's serious, Dale.
There's a world of difference. I mean,
Savage out, Josh in.
In a game, you haven't got to, for example, just for one example, you've not got to manage the people, the personalities, the egos of the players. You haven't got to manage them from week to week. You've got an awful lot not to manage in a computer game. But anyway,
true.
Well done for all of your promotions and great work online.
Well, it's brilliant, but of course FGR is doing pretty well anyway. And I think you're level with Rochdale, is that right?
Yes, I think we are. I think
pretty much.
I think we are. Last time I looked, I think we're joint top of the league.
Yeah. 2-0 last weekend.
Yeah. Another great game from us, actually. Things are looking good. But it's, as I say, every time, the most important part is it's such incredible fun. And I meet people everywhere that just tell me,
you seem to be loving it more than you ever have done.
Yeah. I think that's true. So Robbie says to me, for example, that he's never enjoyed himself more in football, which is quite an impressive thing to say. You know, he had a fairly big career in the Premier League and all of that. And actually, it's true when I think about it that I've never enjoyed myself in football more either than right now. It's really incredible. The place is just buzzing. And, you know, we've been doing it for a while now. Yeah. So there's plenty of kind of track record. But we've also been building each year in terms of, you know, stuff we do. Our training ground is amazing, for example, and stuff like that. And we've got the fans with us. We've got the community with us. And that's the most important thing. Football is about community. I also love football on prescription, which we keep urging the government to talk to us about, saying, come on, why don't we roll it out nationally? It's a very easy thing to do. All clubs have spare seats, except maybe in the Premier League.
Sure.
But as you come down the pyramid, like to where we are, we've always got spare seats. It doesn't hurt us to give them away to people in the community that are feeling, you know, a bit of pressure, a bit of loneliness, isolation, whatever.
Good work. Final story here, Dale, before we go to a final question. Breaking the link, something you've talked about for a long time now. Is this the last time you're going to mention it this year? If so, it's worth a mention nonetheless.
Well, it will be the last time. It just has to be. There's only a week left, give or take. But yeah, breaking the link. I first raised it in the energy crisis when our energy bills quadrupled. The Tories gave themselves the power to break the link in emergency legislation. I only discovered that a couple of months ago, but they didn't use it. Instead, they threw £50 billion at subsidising energy bills, energy costs. Okay. And the flip side of those higher energy bills is windfall taxes, of course. So that was public money paying the big companies to make a shed load of money and run away with it. But anyway, and since then, we've been flagging this fact that we have this absurd link between the cost of gas and the cost of green energy that we make here. And it drives our bills up. In 2023, it added 43 billion. And then we dove deeper into the macroeconomic effects and found that it added nearly 1% to the Bank of England lending rates. Or would have, well, it did. No, it did in that year, and it would have been reduced had we broke the link. And it was 1.5 percentage points added to inflation because of it, and 1 million more people in poverty because of this link. Now, can I persuade the government to do anything about it? Not yet. Am I going to shut up about it? You've got to be kidding.
Yeah. Stand by for the first episode of 2026, which is going to probably start with this subject.
Maybe, I don't know.
And rightly so. Final question comes from Anonymous on Insta. I don't think there's any kind of conspiracy that it's anonymous. Fairly reasonable question. Just curious, as I'm not too well informed. Why do you disagree with nuclear?
Oh, Jesus. That's a big, long-last question.
Because it does come up, doesn't it, as, you know, in fairness, because I sometimes scratch my head on this and think, well, I understand that when you talk about the length of time and constructing nuclear and, the costs involved, but it is often people who are on the environmental camp that get all of the kind of imperatives and all the reasoning. Many of them do champion the idea that nuclear, including this government, is something that can run in tandem.
Look, you get f***wits everywhere, right? Even
This is
in the
very
green
true.
sector. So I'm not going to talk about that. Let me try and make it simple. Nuclear is the most expensive electricity we've ever made, bar none. So it's not cheap.
Yep.
It's the slowest to build of anything we've ever even dreamt of, bar none. Sizewell C, if it gets consented, they've started building it. They've started building it. It's going to take 10 to 15 years to build it. Right? That takes us to 2040.
Sure.
Right? We've got 100% green energy on the grid target by 2030. Now, the government says we need Sizewell for energy security, which is a different argument to cost or speed or carbon. Sure. It's energy security. But it won't come till 2040. What are we going to do in that 10 years between 2030 and when we're already 100% green on the grid? And why would we even bother?
So all things considered, it's a bit shit.
It is, but there's one more thing to consider. We have the technology to store nuclear waste for about 100 years, not really much more. The current cost of cleanup of all of our nuclear reactors so far since we invented it or built them is 120 billion pounds. It's not added to the cost of energy. It's paid by central taxation. So on top of the most expensive electricity we ever had, we have this incredibly expensive hidden cost of cleanup. Now, the half-life, the toxic half-life of this waste product is 8,000 years. That's longer than recorded human history. So what kind of legacy is that to leave for people in about 100 years' time when our containment fails and they've got to recontain this stuff?
Yeah.
Imagine if the Romans had nuclear power, right? Bath is a lovely place to go. I don't know if you've seen the baths, the Roman baths in Bath.
Glowing.
It would be a no-go zone. Right, a no-go zone. What kind of legacy would the Romans? And that old Monty Python sketch, what the Romans ever done for us? They built nuclear power and everything up. That's what it'd be.
That's what they did. Yeah, history would be a very different story, wouldn't it?
It would. So that's why that's why nuclear is a bad idea. Oh, there's even more. One other thing, uranium is in short supply globally. We passed peak uranium some years ago. That means we're using more than we're mining, and we're eating into stockpiles. And Britain has no uranium. And by 2050, just 10 years after Sizewell comes online, there will be a global shortage of uranium.
Blimey.
So there's no security in that.
Yeah.
Is that enough? Do you think that's enough?
That's great. Yeah, you want a beautiful roll there. It's a very simple question that was asked and a very thorough answer was given. So
anything else that had all of those problems or even one of those problems would be dead and buried.
Yeah, you'd go, well, clearly, based on that one thing, this is not viable. But persistence, for whatever reason, seems to be the name of the game.
Yeah, I want to say a lot of people over the years have said we only have nuclear power stations so that we can have nuclear weapons. They've said that. They say that about
it. So it sort of legitimizes it in some kind of way.
No, not so much that.
Softens the feel of it.
Explains it.
Yeah.
Doesn't legitimize it, explains it. Well, some people who would legitimize it, they might say, especially now with all the talk about war with Russia, we need nuclear weapons. Yeah. I mean, it's a silly argument since we've had mutually assured destruction for decades now, in that if a nuclear war starts, we're all dead.
Well, it does detoxify the word in some respect. When you talk about, something that simultaneously will kill us all is apparently something that will simultaneously, warm our homes and keep us nice and safe.
I was talking about missiles then, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, those things as well. Dale, we are done for 2025. We're back early doors 2026. I've got a feeling this agenda is probably going to get busier.
Hope so.
Well, it doesn't ever quieten down, does it? In the time
it's a good sign, though. If it gets busier, it's a good sign.
It's a good sign.
Making more change, making more noise.
Yeah. Well, Feliz Navidad. Have a happy Christmas, or whatever the phrase is. Bon anniversaire. I think that's happy birthday. And we'll speak next year, Dale.
Well, that would work for Jesus.
Yeah.
See you next year.
Cheers, Dale. Bye.
Yeah.